My son was playing a video game today, and he got to a level or board or whatever that he couldn't beat. Right? He had to do something. I don't remember. He had to beat a certain guy or figure something out. And he was trying and he couldn't figure out. And after a few minutes, he decided he didn't want to play the game anymore, and he turned it off. And my immediate reaction to that was, hey, like you can't just quit because it's hard. Like you got to figure it out. Like you're never going to be able to play the game and have fun and do all the good stuff if you just quit when it gets hard. And I didn't give it much thought beyond that, right? I gave it the appropriate amount of thought, I guess. The math seemed clear to me. You don't quit things because they're hard. Challenges are part of life, so you need to build that muscle. Even if it's something silly like a video game, you need to build that muscle and understand. You got to figure it out. You got a problem, you got to figure out the solution. Otherwise, you're gonna have a tougher life because of it. I felt pretty good about that advice and that input. But then I started thinking about it along with something else I've been thinking about for myself a lot lately, which is my career choices and kind of the last 15 or so years of my career and how I've pursued that and how I continuously stay with different jobs, but a job in this case that I don't love and I don't enjoy and brings me discomfort, but I do it and I keep kind of going. And I started to think about those two things and think about how they might tie together. And it made me wonder if there's something to it. If that advice that I gave him is maybe setting him on a path for a worse outcome. Right? This mindset that let's talk about his mindset in that moment. In his moment, in the moment, his mindset was, I think, this is no longer enjoyable. I'm not getting pleasure out of this. There's something better I could be doing with my time, so I'm going to go do that. And I'm telling him, no, you can't do that. If it's bringing you discomfort or you're not bringing you enough pleasure, it doesn't matter. You have to stick with it because that's what you do when you see it through. And obviously, on some level, there's good value in that advice. But to just leave it as a blanket statement like that, to teach it as a principle where that's what it is, maybe that ends up where I ended up, which is, hey, you don't enjoy that job, you don't love what you're doing, you're not getting enough pleasure out of it. Well, it doesn't matter. You don't quit. You don't walk away from it. You finish it. You stick with it. Like just because you have some discomfort doesn't mean you're allowed to bolt. You have to see it through. You have to, part of being an adult means you deal with that. You figure out a way around it. But is that good advice? Like, am I actually setting him up for success? Or would it be much better, or would he be better off to some extent following that instinct to say, hey, like I've run the calculation in my head. This video game is no longer worth it for me anymore. There's something better I could be doing and I should go do that. And that's what I want to do. So that's what I will do because I know that option's there. So I'm going to take it. And later in life, when something like that happens, maybe that will allow him to pivot or move into something that's going to be much better for him and a better use of his time or more meaningful or something that's going to give him more fulfillment. And I'm teaching him this principle that's counter to that. Now, as with most things, it's nuanced and you have to kind of balance it a little bit. Either extreme is going to be bad. If you just jump constantly from thing to thing as soon as there's discomfort, that's bad. Obviously, you don't want to do that. But if you stick with it and you say, no matter what, you finish, you see it through, which is often the advice we give, I think at least me, I let that one slip through too much. I don't recognize that extreme as being a problem, but I think it is. And it's just an example of what I see often, at least in my parenting, when I see the things I'm trying to teach. I always say, like, don't be on the extremes. But what I find is I'm often very aware and diligent about having him avoid a certain extreme, but I forget or I push him towards another extreme. I don't actually push him towards the middle to find that middle ground. And I think this is a perfect example of that, of where I need to be better in that, right? The conversation needs to be, maybe have him check his math a little bit, right? Help him do that. Like, hey, why are you quitting? What's going on here? Are you sure? Do you really want to play the game, but you're walking away because it's just this one hard part? Really understand it so that he's thoughtful about the decision. Don't just give him a blanket rule that says you don't quit anything just because it's hard. Maybe sometimes you do, right? I've talked about it before. There is such a thing, I believe, as functional discomfort, which is your body, your mind would have you trying to tell you, like, hey, this isn't right. You shouldn't be doing this. Much like you putting your hand into a fire, right? You pull back, right? Because you feel the heat, your mind automatically pulls it back. Same concept here. So to teach him to just, no, you put your hand in that fire, and if it burns, you keep it there, that doesn't seem like the right advice either. So a good example for me is something where probably making it too simple, probably so afraid of one extreme that I'm pushing him towards another. And as with most things, I need to be a little bit more complex and nuanced in how I handle and treat that situation and the lesson that's taught from it.